Hey there, this is Tam,
And I'm eternally mortal.
and this is our Hidden Egg podcast where we talk about vulnerability.
And anything else that happens to pop into our minds.
So, I don't know what else we need to say for the intro, but do you want to just jump right in?
No. Let's ease our way into it.
Boy, that was
Yeah.
that was a skipped track.
Let's ease our way into it a little bit.
Okay, you want some foreplay? I gotcha.
Well, because what we're doing here in season 3 is we're basically whatever issues we've been wrestling with throughout the week or things that we experienced throughout the week, we're kind of going to talk about and be vulnerable about our positions and how we feel about it, right?
Yeah.
You said, I hope it's okay that I'm blaming you for this. You said that you've recently, over the past few days or whatever, been hit a lot more with the Israel-Palestine conflict.
A friend of mine started talking a little bit about it. Not you, obviously, because you've been talking about it for weeks now. And I thought, it's on people's minds. People are talking about it. Maybe it's time for us to talk about it on the podcast.
Yeah, and it's a little awkward because it's one of the issues that if we do talk about it, is possible that we could actually get the wrong kind of traction, because I don't know how people can decide that this is a conspiracy theory or not, but there's a lot of people out there saying that any support of Palestine at all, and you have a bunch of pro-Israel people that immediately jump on you and call you anti-Semitic and a supporter from us. That's the stuff that I'm seeing a lot, is that there's people out there that are trying to be a voice for the innocent people that are getting bombed right now, and they are getting shut down.
Well, here's what I have to say about that. America, we're going to go way back to before America was founded. America was colonized by the oppressed people that were different religions, basically still Christian, but they were different versions of Christianity that wasn't allowed to exist. And so they fled here to America because they wanted the right to live and believe whatever they wanted to believe. And then they started killing indigenous people. So I could look at that and be like, well, they were the oppressed, so I have to be on their side. But then they came and became oppressors. And so I'm not going to side with somebody that is doing oppression just because they were oppressed. Because I look at American culture now and I see it is riddled with this whole I'm a victim, so I should be able to get away with whatever I want. And I don't think that's okay.
Right.
So I'm sorry, but I don't know a whole lot about the thing, so I'm going to be asking questions. But if it comes out that Israelis are being oppressors, they have gone on the other side of that fence. They're no longer the oppressed. They are the oppressors. And therefore it's not an anti-Semitic thing to say that they're doing what they're doing. If that's what the case is, I don't know. I'm not.
Let's go ahead.
We're gonna ask.
We're gonna get into some disclaimers now.
Okay.
We're just two assholes talking about shit. We've admitted we've said that this podcast is about vulnerability in our opinions and stuff.
Right.
Nothing that we state is intended to be any sort of fact. Don't come to us for information about the Palestine-Israeli war.
Always do your fact checking somewhere else. This is not one of those reputable sources. We don't fact check all of the stuff that we say. Some of it may be heresy or hearsay.
Could be either one.
Could be either one.
Depending on your religion.
So yeah, I don't want to be blamed for giving out false information because I don't have all the information myself, and I know that you don't have all the information yourself.
And we're not looking up information right now. We're just talking. So you're welcome. You're free to come on to any place where you can comment on our podcast and tell us how wrong we are in what we're about to say.
Right.
We will probably respond with, whoops.
Right.
Because, I don't think we have enough of a platform yet that we can be called influential. So
yeah, not really.
And I'm not gonna necessarily push for any action from any person or peoples at all. I actually do want a ceasefire. I agree with the people that are clamoring for a ceasefire, but I'm not going to push for a ceasefire because I'm just an asshole. And the only thing that an asshole pushes is shit.
Okay, all right.
So anyway, yeah, disclaimers. We're not authorities in any regard, and we will probably not stand up for what we say, because what a lot of people don't seem to realize is that humans just say shit.
Right.
And we don't need to stand up and fight for the things that we said once upon a time if they're a little incorrect.
Exactly.
And we don't need to hold everyone to a perfect standard either.
And I know you are probably of the same mind, but like, even though we want things to happen in the world, that doesn't mean that we think that our way is the only way.
Right.
Or that we should even get what we want out of the world.
Right.
Even if we think it's literally the best thing that could ever happen for everybody, that's not our right to decide.
Right. And I'm going to use that to actually dive directly into something real quick.
Okay.
Because my bias that I've existed with has been watching a lot of content that's, I'm going to say on the side of not killing Palestinians anymore.
Okay.
I'm trying to say this very clearly, if I can. So I might use simplistic words. I apologize.
So that's the two sides, is the Israelis and the Palestinians.
Right. If you want to boil it down that deep, that much, yes, absolutely. There's a lot of people that talk about Hamas. Hamas is both a terror organization that is calling for the death and eradication of all Jews ever for all time, from certain perspectives, and also the government of the Palestinians that are the ones that are releasing the numbers for how many people have died in Palestine.
Okay.
This is not
that does
all
complicate things.
That is not all necessarily fact. It's hard to pull back fact from fiction because Israel's official mouthpieces have contradicted themselves multiple times in such a way that it really looks like, to the people that are analyzing this and paying attention to it from what I've seen, that they're just trying to spin the best narrative that they can find.
Okay, so we're going to need to
going a lot of places.
We're going to have to baby step this. So my understanding, and I don't have a lot of it, my understanding was that the Hamas was an extremist group.
Yeah.
Are they also actually the government, or?
Yeah, from what I understand, when Hamas was elected to power in 2006, roughly, if I remember correctly. Remember, I'm not going to stand by these things. They went up against the Palestinian Liberation Association or Society or whatever, and there was huge amounts of perceived corruption within the Palestinian Liberation Association or whatever they were. And so Hamas was presenting themselves as we're not corrupt. We're telling you exactly who we are and what we're planning and stuff like that. And then after they were elected, they immediately turned around and were like, yeah, we fucking hate Israel and we hate Jews and everything. What I haven't seen actually in the past month and all the stuff that I've seen is I haven't seen once a single member of Hamas coming out and specifically saying, we want to eradicate all the Jews. I've not seen
that seems suspicious.
anyone saying that. I've only seen Israeli officials and American idiots, saying that Hamas wants that, and that Hamas has been wanting that for a long time.
Yeah, and that sounds a lot like when Trump was saying that all the Mexicans want to drug up our kids, fuck our daughters, and take our jobs.
Right, exactly. Mm-hmm. It's just a statement. It's not anything that's being verified.
It's not just a statement. It's enemy mongering. It's like creating an enemy where there isn't technically one there.
Now, I've heard a lot of people that are very, very pro-Zionist, very pro settlement of Israel for the Jewish people in response to World War II and the atrocities that the Jewish people have gone through, which I want to make sure that I clearly state. Jews have gone through a lot as a people.
They have.
Jews are not a monolith. Every individual Jew has an individual human
Right.
experience. But
But the Jewish
the
people
Jewish
have,
people
in
have
general,
definitely gone through an enormous amount.
a lot.
And there's still a lot of people that are suffering from anti-Semitism to this day, all over the world. But I mean people, actual people in their day-to-day lives that get hate for who they are and not for what they do, and that happens in many walks of life. But and I'm being very specific about what I mean by anti-Semitism, because I'm probably at some point going to talk about how anyone that there's been a lot of people that just say free Palestine that are then being called anti-Semites. And
yeah, I don't think that those things are the same thing.
No.
It's
no.
like it's like in the example that I gave of, Trump saying that all Mexicans want to do all this. That basically means anybody that likes Mexican people or Mexican anything, they're now suddenly cohorting with the enemy.
Right.
And it's like, wait, so if I go to vacation in Cancun, are you like really suggesting that I'm somehow part of the problem? I'm the enemy now because I
if they
was around a Mexican person or have a friend that's Mexican.
If they don't like you for some reason, they can then use that to say that you were colluding with the enemy. Absolutely. That's the problem that I'm having, is that we have stopped. Well, I don't know that we ever did, actually. Maybe I was too naive in the past. But like this whole, like, we don't give a shit about the truth. We just want to say whatever will support our narrative and our biases the most is ridiculous to me. Why does no one, I'm sorry, I'm being a little dramatic, but I'm going to continue to be dramatic for the sentence. Why does no one feel bad about blatantly lying about things? Why don't people, how is it possible to out loud say something that you know is a lie for the purposes of supporting yourself over another, to hurt another group of people or person, and not, I don't understand.
So I used to have the same question, and I used to wonder the same thing. And then I learned that humans are not designed for truth. We are not physiologically, mentally, psychologically, no part of us is actually designed for truth. They've proven this in so many different ways, it's not even funny. So I'm not going to say what the proof is. You can go research it if you want to know. But we're not designed for truth. We are designed for survival. Which means if it's me versus you, I'm going to care about me and not care about you. That's how we're designed. If it's my society versus your society, I'm going to care about my society, not your society. But then when it's about truth and then lying and saying a blatant lie that you know to be false, if underneath that you believe it's me against you, anything goes.
Yeah, I know.
It doesn't matter. And that hurts me because I'm not like that. But I know that humans in general, like, I'm sure that there's a point at which I would be like that. I've lied before, so why wouldn't I lie again under some circumstances?
And I've certainly lied too. Like, my my extreme view is emotional, not logical. I've certainly lied.
So the problem that I see in the whole thing is that the Israelis believe that they have to eradicate these Palestinians for their survival. And that is actually the problem. Underneath all of it, that is the problem, because they don't.
And I'm not even 100% certain. I've watched a few people. It's been a few people reacting to, like, full ass videos, like, supporting the Israeli side. A lot of it has to do with a lot of history that started at World War II. And I'm not going to try and regurgitate any of that shit because I'm going to forget most of it.
The most that I really remember from all of that is that the Israelis were given this section of the world in reparation for World War II, and the Palestinians were already living there. And that's when the problem started. And I don't know who it was that decided that giving them somebody else's land was an appropriate reparation, but I feel like that needs to be retracted and, like, sorted out by whoever was the original gifter. Like, figure out where we need to be giving them that's, like, actually not somebody else's shit.
Did you ever get to watch John Oliver's take on this?
I did not. I have not.
He just recently released a video, an episode last week tonight about it.
I didn't want to do any real research on this because I wanted to be the view of somebody that didn't really know what was going on.
Oh, well, we'll see if that works out, because then if we're just using my knowledge, like, who knows what the hell I know. But
we did all those disclaimers at the beginning. There's no way that we are going to, like, accept any accountability for this being truth. We're not a fact program. We're a vulnerability program. And so the things that we're saying are probably being said somewhere in the world by other people.
In fact, yeah, I'm regurgitating stuff that I've heard already.
And that's kind of the point.
And go research the things that you hear, because maybe I'm wrong. I don't care, but you go research. I do care, but you go research it to find out, find out your own truths and everything. But anyway, from what I understood, there was the Zionist cause came about before World War II, before, millions of Jews were killed in concentration camps in the Holocaust. I don't remember the name of the dude anymore, but there was some debate on where to set up, where to put a nation for the nation of Israel, the nation for the Jewish faith, the Jewish people, I should maybe say. I don't know if the Jewish faith and the Jewish lineage are different now. It's hard for me to tell.
They are different, although there are places where they overlap. You can have the belief of being Jewish and not have the DNA of Jewish.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's racist. I don't know if that is or not. I'm not entirely certain.
It is. They're two different things. Someone can, in theory, also have the DNA, the genetics of being Jewish and not be religiously Jewish. Although that one happens less often, it does still happen.
Okay.
It's just that they were very highly associated with each other for a very long time.
Anyway, there was some discussion about it. I believe that the other options were that Alaska was considered as a place that they could use for their the state that they were going to do, and that one of the islands in, I think, South America. No, one of the areas in South America, but I can't remember where. Anyway, but Israel certainly has religious significance for Judaism. I believe there's all kinds of talks about temples on a mount and stuff like that I don't really understand either. But the big problem that I see is that we're really only seeing the basic public is only seeing one side of this. There's a pretty large group of people that are clamoring for the Palestinian people, but I don't see any Palestinian voices.
Yeah, it's kind of like the opposite of what happened with the Ukrainian people. We got both sides. We heard what the Russians were thinking and saying, and we heard what the Ukrainians were thinking and saying. And so we could all make our own decisions on who to vouch for, who are we standing behind as people individually, not as the countries. But with this, yeah, I haven't really heard either side, to be honest. But from what I've heard, there aren't Palestinian voices. But also from what I've heard, the Palestinians live in like this 5-mile by 25-mile strip, and
it's been called by World Health Organization and the United Nations as an open air prison.
Right, because it's completely surrounded by Israelis, and I'm just wondering, all you Israelis out there, how does that not bring up reminiscent memories or visions of a concentration camp? That, like, how does that not seem like a bad situation for people to live in, like trying to empathize with the people in there? I'm just wondering I don't know. I guess I'm just wondering what they're thinking when they look at that and they think, oh, this is okay.
I'm going to say something a little antagonistic, sensational. But from some of the stuff that I've seen from like the heads of the Israeli government and like UN officials from Israel, like it seems almost like they believe they get to do it in return, like they get revenge in a certain
Against
regard.
what?
It's not about who did it to them, although there are some hardcore
That's so childish.
There's some hardcore Jewish people and hardcore Zionists that do remember some pretty large atrocities from the past that Arabs in general have perpetuated upon the Jewish people, which certainly did happen, but like a lot of that was very long ago.
Yeah, but could you imagine if like all the American black people decided that they got the right to beat the shit out of every white person because white people used to have them as slaves? Like, do you know how long ago that was? I didn't own you as a slave, so if somebody came to me and was like, I deserve to get my revenge on you, it's like, why? What have I done to you? Why do I deserve to take the punishment of people that I was never related to? I have done my genealogy. No one in my entire genetic line has ever owned a slave because we've been broke as fuck. Why do you think that this is okay? And I it's so childish. It's very abuse trauma.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
It's like saying my daddy beat me, so I get to beat you, another child in my class.
Right. Well, yeah, but like you have to understand. Yeah, I'm not trying to say you have to understand. I hate that phrase. It causes a lot of feelings. Yeah, in the month. Okay, so October 7th was a horrible, disgusting terror attack that affected women and children and elderly, and some of those hostages, I believe, are still being held to this day.
Yeah, I saw a billboard that said like "free so and so," and it. Yeah, I don't know who it was, but it was some Middle Eastern person that is currently still being held.
I can't remember exactly, but I think there were only like 4 of those 250 some people that were released so far, and if they have been released, I don't even know. Maybe they were killed. I don't remember that either. But it was like 1,500 people or so that were killed in that attack on October 7th. And in the 6 weeks since, well over 10,000 Palestinians have been killed, including over 4,000 children. Yes, those numbers are coming from Palestine, though it is Israel that allows us to get those numbers, and then it is Israel that then condemns anyone that uses those numbers to say that there's been a problem.
So we're not allowed to have our own thoughts and come to our own conclusions. That sounds very oppressive to me.
It's a problem because like that's kind of the way that the whole thing has been phrased, and it's disgusting. And what I have a problem with is that everyone that pretends to be an intellectual about this, watch some Ben Shapiro content that's been happening recently.
No thanks.
Anybody that has claims to intelligence that talks about this immediately starts talking about everything that's happened since 1945, and the back and the forth.
Because you have to know the whole story. There's a lot that's been going on with this.
Right. The problem that I have with every time we talk about the current conflict that's happening and the current people that are dying and the current children that are getting killed in hospitals, we can't. I don't think that we can continue to talk about things that happened 60 years ago, 80 years ago. I don't think we can, because none of that shit, none of those decisions that happened then are what's going on right now. Is anybody in Palestine, is there anybody in Palestine right now that is saying that they want all Jews to die?
That is a good question.
Because
I mean, if there isn't somebody that they can actually point to and be like, this person is saying it, and then that person's like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'm saying it, then it's just made up propaganda to further a campaign that is wrong.
Right. And if that is happening, why isn't Israel having someone present that information in a calm and collected manner? Like, hey guys, as everyone's been saying, Israel has been trying to get along with the Palestinians for 80 years now. We've put forth 3 different proposals, and they shot down every single one of them. And they even attacked us, and we went to war, and we beat them all in 6 days, along with them and all their other Arab people.
Why is this an emotionally charged situation for the Israelis when they have all the power? They have everything.
Right. Why aren't they calmly saying,
why aren't they being calm
to cross the line with Palestinians, and they continue to respond like this and show an actual Palestinian saying this kind of stuff?
I mean, and you know the answer behind that is because there isn't.
No, and they're constructing them. They have been caught multiple times constructing Palestinian videos and Hamas videos and audio tapes claiming things that are horrible to hear. But it was constructed. They were found. It was proven. Go look those up. From what I saw, I believed what I saw, and I was given sources at the time. But go look those up. Make sure.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess I know we can't actually say that like there isn't any Palestinians saying that, but I feel like even if there is, it can't possibly be all of these people. And if the people right now are saying that at this point, they might be saying that because they are now being very oppressed, and they've been oppressed.
Everybody that's currently in Palestine has been oppressed their whole life and the lives of their parents.
So like how much I'm sorry, and I know this is going to be triggering to people, but how much do you think that the Jews in concentration camps said on a daily basis they wish all Germans or Nazis were dead? Like, when you're in a situation where you're actively being oppressed by those people, you're going to get into an us versus them mentality. There are a few that don't, but they're the outliers. They're not the norm.
Especially because I think that the population of Palestine is young. I think there's a lot of teenagers in Palestine, and
I don't think they get to live very long.
I don't think they do get to either. And I think, but I haven't looked into that. Please check your sources. I need to stop saying that.
Yeah.
But I think that there's a lot of young people in Palestine that have been fucked around their whole life, that have been completely and cut off from having autonomy their whole life, whose parents and grandparents have been killed.
Right. And if you're in a situation like that, I'm sorry, Israel, but if that were my life, I would hate you too.
Right, which is why you get all these like ridiculously shitty tiny rockets and bombs that Palestine has been shooting at Israel for probably decades, and caused Israel to build their iron wall and make it to where they're now pretty protected from anything hitting them from the outside. So, by the way, all of that protection and all of the ability that they have had to wage all that war has almost unilaterally come from the United States.
Yeah.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, we just within the past week or so completed an incentive to send them another $14 billion in weapons, or just money, I can't remember. And I have in multiple places shouted at the void saying, can you please stop using my tax dollars to kill civilians? Please.
Right?
Like, I'm kind of begging at this point.
Yeah. I mean, and I mentioned earlier, like, America has its own history of subjugation, oppression, and genocide. So I do not stand with those decisions at all. I have, and I know this is going to sound so white woman, but I do actually have Native American in my veins. I don't talk about it because it's not very much, but I don't feel like it's appropriate to kill people. I just, like, people just in general, this whole idea of there being a war between vastly different
power levels.
That's not a war.
No,
that's a massacre.
And it has been a slaughter.
You can't justify. It's not the same as it being like, you know, if China and America went to war, like, that would be a real war. There are definitely differences there in some power here and there, but overall, they've got numbers. We've got the military strength. Who knows what the hell would happen? They've also got a lot of technology that they're creating. So I don't feel like that is we're in the same class. Let's just say that.
We probably are in the same class. There's
However,
a possibility that China is actually significantly above us, and we're
that's
just not
also
aware
possible.
of it.
Right. But we don't know. So we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
But if America went to war with, say, Fiji,
Right?
that's not a war.
No.
That's a takeover.
Mm-hmm.
And if their objective was to kill all Fijians, that's a massacre.
That's a genocide.
That is a genocidal massacre. There is no war there. That's not a war. You can't, like, I understand that words have meaning and it's probably like, oh, it is technically a war, but like in my head, a war is something that both sides have a fighting chance.
Yeah, and that's not the way it's been used in a lot of ways, but yeah, it's an honorable war in a way.
Right.
If war can be honorable.
Yeah,
I'm a fantasy nerd, and so like I read a lot of books that in certain ways did kind of glorify war, that the ideas of being an honorable soldier mattered, that dying for your country or your king or your cause was the preferable death. Valhalla exists in certain cultures. So like, I have a bit of a feeling about war in a certain regard, but I also hate killing people. I hate the thought of killing people. There's no reason from my perspective because a lot of wars have essentially been greed. Essentially. Even trying to promote your country over another, or your religion over another, or your idealistic way of living over another is greed. And it's
there's I think for some people there's a fine line between self-preservation and survival, and when it crosses over into greed. Because I think those places and people, they would argue that they need it for their survival, and they believe that. They truly do. But when you pick apart, like, do you really need that? If we all calmed down and took a step back and thought about all the options, you don't actually need that in order to survive. You could live without it. It's just you don't want to. You're being a 5-year-old with a toy, and you're like, I don't want to share. And you've got like this whole cabinet full of toys, and it's this little, homeless boy that's like, but I just want to play. Like that's the situation in a lot of cases where it turns out to be greed. Where like, they want it, I need it. No, that's not what wants and needs. Like, needs don't really like supersede people's lives like this.
Right.
Unless they're being oppressive, in which case, sure. But if categorically you are the oppressor, then that can't be the case.
Right. You can claim that they hate you and that they're all gross and rapists, which is what they say a lot of times, and Nazis. You can say all that, but you have been oppressing them for decades.
Right.
That is the actual what is happening.
Right. Do they even really care? Like, are they the Nazi that cares that you're Jewish, or are they just the oppressed that care that you're oppressing them, and that's just something that they know is a hot button for you to
Right.
piss you off? You know what I mean? Like,
kind of, yeah.
There are plenty of people out there that they don't care about. Like, they're not necessarily sexist or racist, but in a moment, they might hit one of those hot buttons just because they know it pisses you off.
Right.
Because they feel threatened. And, that's not to say that that's a good thing to do, but in a certain scenario where they actually are being threatened, their livelihood, their families, their life in general, and health and well-being, you're threatening that, then why wouldn't they push those hot buttons to try to get you to understand that they are hurting?
Right.
So, yeah, I get you. I'm going to kind of go a slight left turn and say I haven't really been delving into this much because of other issues. And would you like to move on to other issues that aren't this?
There was one more thing I wanted to say. I'm not sure if I have it anymore, though. I don't know if you're willing to sit in silence with me for a second while I try and think of it.
I can pause.
You can pause. Go ahead and pause for a second. Oh, I do remember. Um, I may have it may have come across during this conversation like I am making Israeli people a monolith, or even Zionists a monolith, and I don't intend to. Like, even during my rants and my emotional speaking, I really don't intend to, because there's so many people in Israel that are protesting and calling for a ceasefire right now, civilians on the ground. And to their credit, as far as I know, the Israeli government is not like rounding them all up and putting them in army uniforms like Russia did. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so that's to their credit.
I think if they did, they'd look like Nazis.
Lol. Yeah, exactly. But what it looks like to me is that the people in power are trying to maintain an age-old struggle that no one really wants anymore.
Right.
And it's like,
why?
Because I keep trying to see the human perspective from all of it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Netanyahu is a person, the prime minister of Israel, or whatever his title is.
His last name is Yahoo.
Netanyahu is his whole last name.
Wow.
I think his name is Benjamin Netanyahu.
Wow.
Yeah.
I thought Yahoo was just something people exclaimed and then later a website. Apparently,
I don't know how I would say that in whatever the regular language of, like, Hebrew. Do they speak Hebrew? I don't even know. I'm such an asshole.
I don't know.
I'm such an asshole. Anyway,
we know so very little.
Yeah, we do.
But yeah, you're right. And we weren't, like, when we were saying earlier, like, the Israelis, like, that's the people that are continuing to push for this, and to mostly government officials that are actually making it happen. That's not to say that the average civilian in Israel even wants this to happen.
Right, absolutely.
A lot of those have been trying really hard, especially the ones that live next to the border, between them. They have been really hard trying to bridge the gap and heal that wound. And this is not helping. They were helping, and now the officials have just decided, nope, you're not allowed to actually make peace. We're going to dig in deeper. And I know that this was technically in response to a threat of some kind by the Hamas. Something happened.
The October 7th thing?
Yeah, well, the
attack?
Whatever the Hamas did, I heard that they kind of kicked it off a little bit, and
the attack?
And attacked somehow.
Yeah, Hamas attacked on October 7th and kidnapped 250 people and killed well over 1,000.
In a way, I know that the Israelis are kind of responding to that, the government, not the civilians. But I have a feeling that was not civilian stuff either. It's like all the civilians on both sides are just being fucked.
Yeah, they're just trying to live lives. And I will dip my toes into the conspiracy theorist pool, because I'm not entirely sure that it is a conspiracy theory, but some people will probably think it is. It is not outside the realm of possibility that Israel, the power players within the government of Israel, could supply Hamas with weapons to have them attack, or convince them to attack.
Well, how else are they getting their weapons?
The only reason why I'm bringing this up
is
because
in the middle of the goddamn
the Israeli officials' complete refusal to even, like, consider the whole, like, talking about stuff. Like, they get so upset when asked questions in certain regards that, like, that level of, like, complete dismissal of Hamas and the Palestinian people from the perspective of just the layman watching it, it's just like because of that, I can believe it. I can believe that the attack on October 7th could potentially have been Israel trying to make Palestinians and Hamas look bad. I believe it. That it's possible, I mean. And I'm not saying that's actually what happened or anything like
Hands
that.
Hands down, 99% money was involved.
Well, sure.
Somebody rich somewhere was like, we need some bullshit stirred up in the world. They picked this place and this conflict because it was easy
Possibly.
in some way.
This one has a lot of power
and somebody with money said, make it happen. And through whatever channels they have available, they made it happen. Hands down, I'm 99% certain that in some way is why this is happening. It's not because some, random person on either side decided that they thought that this was a good idea and then rallied for this to happen, and then the government responded. That was never a part of anybody's decision making. Was for what the people wanted. It was always somebody, probably not even in the conflict at all, probably somebody in one of the other first world countries like America or
like a Tony Stark
Britain,
type,
like a Tony Stark or a Trump. Somebody that wanted, maybe they were bored. I don't know what rich people be crazy. But whatever the reason, I guarantee it is, if you follow all the paper trails, you will eventually find a benefactor behind this whole thing that just wanted it to happen.
Possibly. Well, I'm spent. If you want to take your left turn, you're more than welcome to. Sorry I delayed this so long.
It's been most of the episode, but that's okay. We can still talk about me.
Absolutely.
No, but I haven't gone a whole lot into this issue because, and this was educational and everything, but I'm still not like watching videos or looking at the pictures or anything because, like many people, I just don't have it. There, and I understand that, and this was what my friend and I were talking about, was that there's some I don't remember who it was, but there's this person that she's following that is kind of loud about, like, if you're not talking about how this is wrong, then you're part of the problem. And I'm like, I don't really agree with that. Like, we don't have, if you have a big platform, okay, if you have a large platform and you're not publicly at least saying where you stand on the matter, if not telling your viewers, like, this is happening and here's what you can do to help, yada, yada, yada. Sure, okay, big platforms, got it. Like, I totally on board with that. You and me, if is she talking about you? Because if she's talking about you and me, fuck you. Because we're not big enough. We're not big enough for that to be something that we are going to make this huge dramatic difference and save the day on. And meanwhile, I have my own shit. Like, I'm not a functional adult right now. I need to use my energy to become a functional adult. I do not need to be using my energy on another Facebook warrior campaign. I don't really do Facebook, but you know what I mean. Like, it applies to all social media. What did?
So yeah, I just wanted to kind of support that because the not paying attention to this, the worst case scenario for random lower class person in fucking middle America is that you are unaware that a genocide occurs.
You miss history while it's in the making. Yeah.
Right. And we've been unaware of many genocides in the past.
Yep.
Find out about the Armenian genocide. I don't even know that much about it. I just know that it exists.
I've never even heard of it.
And it's happened more recently than World War II, I believe. But I could be wrong. I don't know. But System of a Down was pretty upset about it, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. And System of a Down was upset about a lot of things.
Well, one of them was. But also, how many species have gone extinct in the time that we've been alive? We can't, as a human with a consciousness, we can't make ourselves guilty and shameful for everything that happens in the world. Trust me, I've tried.
I have too.
Right. And so, yeah, there's very, very little chance that Israel or Palestine is going to decide to take over the world and make it anybody else's problem but their own. That Arab nations might get involved, and any other surrounding nations might be impacted. And America's only impacted because we keep fucking sending them money.
I'm not even saying that. I'm not even saying that. There are plenty of things in the world that do impact us, like global warming. That absolutely is going to impact us on an individual basis. I get that. I cannot put in the energy for it because I need to put in my own energy for me. And I get that that is super selfish. And I am super privileged to be able to do that. But then again, am I? Because, like, the people on the coasts of Italy, they may not necessarily have any more ability to do anything towards global warming than I do. Because global warming is a rich people problem. It's not the regular everyday civilian problem. It's like the 1% and corporations problem. Those are the people that are doing, no, corporations. They, like, I think it was something like at least 40% of all greenhouse gas emissions are coming from just corporations alone.
Yeah, we need oversight, because corporations are not going to decide to do the right thing.
Right.
Ever.
And I'm not going to just magically get to a place where I'm functional trying to, swivel my head on a dime on all of these huge issues that everything, that whole, like, green campaign that they used to have back when we were, like, teenagers, that it was a save the rainforest back then. And then shortly after that, it was like, we need to go and become a paperless society. And then after that, it was like, you got to recycle. And then after that, like, it's always been on the fucking poor people, the regular everyday person, to do the job of corporations. But did you know that we don't have a rainforest problem anymore? The ozone has been fixed, and paper is a renewable resource again. Did you know these things?
I knew the first two.
Do you know who made that happen? I don't either. I'm sure that there were rallies. I'm sure that there were protests. But at the end of the day, it was fucking oversight and corporations changing their shit so that they could continue the bottom line, as it were.
Sure. Okay. Cool.
It's never going to be us. No matter how much we protest, unless it actually affects their bottom line, it's not going to make any difference. And I am one person in a sea of billions of people on this planet. I am not going to take all of that responsibility onto myself to fix and save the day while I am drowning.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm not literally drowning. There are people who are, and I don't think that they should try to fix the world either. They need to get out of the water and figure out how to survive. Totally down with that.
Uh-huh.
So, one of the things that this past week has really taught me, in my selfishness of because I went overboard with my selfishness, and I told you this in private, but I was at a function where, like, my ego, the part of me that tells me stories about, me relating to the world, it was going crazy. Every minute or two, it was like, this person thinks that I'm a fraud because I called myself a writer, and they must know that I'm lying. Like, I am a writer, but I'm not making any money, so obviously I'm just a hack.
Mm-hmm.
And this person over here saw me laugh, so now they know how gross my teeth are. And this person over here thinks I'm fat. And just on and on and on and on and on. And it got to a level, and I wrote about it on Substack, but it got to a level where I just couldn't think about those things anymore. It sort of ate itself. And I looked around me and I was like, none of these people are thinking about me.
No. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When I apply that to the world, all these big things that I could think about, that I could put my energy into, so says some, global warrior telling me what I need to be doing with my life to fix the problem. None of those organizations are thinking about me.
No.
They're not considering the fact that I have crippling anxiety. They're not considering the fact that I have just recently overcome my years-long battle with insomnia. They don't give two shits about what it's going to do to me to think about the things I need to think about for their issue. Mm-hmm. All they want is what they want, and they don't care about me. And I get that they're looking at bigger things, and that's fine. But they need to be looking at bigger fish, because I'm a tiny little fucking fish. I'm not taking on the judgment anymore. I'm not taking on this idea that I have to be something bigger than what I am.
Mm-hmm.
And if I get to a place where, maybe our podcast gets big enough that we do have a platform to be able to say these things and it matter, or maybe we get to a place where we're making enough money that we can put, towards things that we believe in that matters. Sure. Then I will definitely be doing the research. I will definitely be tuning in to the things to find out, is this what I want to put my money into? Is this what I want to say on the podcast and tell to the people that are listening to us? But until then, dude, I'm just one person.
Yeah. And just so you know, when and if we're successful and wealthy, we're still just going to be one person. Well, individually one person.
Right. But I feel like by that time, I will have a better handle on being a functional adult.
And we could also pay somebody to do research for us, potentially.
Right.
And that way we would know the research, and that person would be paid for their time in doing that research.
Right. I don't know that I'd necessarily do that, but it's something we could do.
Just as a weird side, when I kept saying I was going to run for president at some point, one of my first planned actions was to hire a bunch of people that just do research, just do market research and fact research and statistic research to be able to come up with information as quickly as possible.
If you were to run for president, you would need that. That's a standard part of the operation.
Okay. They never talk about that, so I didn't know it was standard.
They don't talk about that.
Because, I just,
But that is a huge part of running for any office, is that you need to have people that have the data.
Well, I meant if I became president.
And so, if you become president, then you're assigned a cabinet of people that's their job.
Good, because they need to do a lot of it. Because, knowing what people want.
The president now has people doing that for him.
I'm not completely convinced of that.
I mean, I'm not saying that they're necessarily doing.
I saw his last.
Or that they're reading the information right. But...
I saw a good 15 to 20 minutes of his last address to the American people, and I'm currently thinking about voting for a dead pine tree in a forest for president in 2024.
Maybe we should all just vote for you, but you'd have to put your name out there. Because you can write any name on the ballot. Literally any name. It doesn't have to be a person who's running. People don't know that, but
I know.
You can put any name on the ballot. Even though Bernie Sanders wasn't running, we could have written him into the ballot.
Uh-huh. You remember the Electoral College?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what we vote for.
If enough people did it,
there'd be some members of Congress who would be swayed by their constituents. There would also be some members of Congress that don't give a fuck what their constituents have to say.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Yeah. Well.
So.
And now we come full circle to if there was something that I felt like my energy and time would actually be worthwhile to place into when I get to a place where I am a functional adult, it's definitely paying attention to these fucking politics.
Right? A lot going on there.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot going on, and I don't know the half of it, and they make it so confusing so that you don't know the half of it.
Well, half of the laws that they pass now are to make it confusing. That's an exaggeration.
I don't think it is. I mean, you've read the ballots, the way they say, do you agree with not paying a tax for when every 15th cycle of the season somebody shits in a bush on the 15th of July? Could you just fucking write English? What is this? It's not legalese. I know how to understand legalese. It's some bastardization of bullshitting and legalese and English and some Mountain Hill speak. I don't know what they're trying to do, but it's not.
It's too many people demanding to have input on how something is phrased.
Well, it needs to be phrased in a way that people can understand.
I agree. But I think, I don't know for sure, but I think it's because, everyone involved in creating the ballot wants to have a say in how it's worded. not creating the ballot, and creating the proposal, the lawmakers. Right. I mean, the lawmakers.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, and then by the end of it, nobody understands what the hell it is.
Oh, but anyway, we got distracted. We were talking about something
it's
else.
Easy to get distracted about this stuff.
Yeah.
And we do have some international listeners, so we have actually several.
Do we?
Yeah. We have a few that are in Canada, and then there's some that are across the pond in the UK.
Well, that's cool. I genuinely don't necessarily 100% believe we have listeners. And it's not your all's fault.
The analytics say so.
Yeah, but I don't look at the analytics.
Yeah, I do sometimes.
Yeah,
not often.
I don't. I just kind of work better believing that like no one's listening to us. It just kind of works out better for me.
That's fine. But I was just saying that because like I don't know how many of them give a shit about American politics. Like it's a mess here.
The problem, and I've heard this from people around the world, like online and stuff like this, and maybe they're just lying to me or maybe they're wrong. But like a lot of people out there tell me that American politics hits them so hard, like it affects everything. Like we're so bombastic and in everyone's face all the goddamn time, and we have such an enormous fucking military that like everyone has to pay attention to us.
Yeah,
especially when we fucking elect narcissists into the Oval Office.
Well, because we're the overgrown bully of the school grounds.
So everybody's got to pay attention to our goddamn politics, and it's shit. I feel terrible.
I'm so sorry.
That. It's ridiculous.
And it's not any easier for us to understand the politics here.
No.
Let me tell you, it's probably even more confusing because we get inundated by all the bullshit trying to tell us if you go for Proposition 15,005B subject 2, then you're, I don't know, then you're going to make babies cry. I don't know. Like it's ridiculous how many ads we have and how many different things we have to keep track of each and every voting season. I completely forgot. This past November, I completely forgot. I had the things up there. We were so stressed out in our lives, it completely went to waste. We never because I had the trip. That was just last week.
It's because they haven't put any effort into the infrastructure of voting. There's a lot of ways to make voting incredibly easy. You know how I'm pretty sure American Idol, you can get votes from all over the country.
Well, you can do that online.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
I wish I could vote online for
There's a lot of ways to be able to make it. There's a lot of ways to be able to make that stuff actually work and be safe and secure, and they just don't want to do it because there's a lot of really old people that existed long before the internet ever existed, and they do not trust the internet to be safe.
Yeah.
Or they don't want everyone to vote, because if everyone votes, then they definitely are going to lose power.
The funny thing about that is that a lot of the right-wing people were really upset about this idea of voter fraud, and so like a lot of states like cracked down, quote unquote, on voter fraud and made it harder for other people to vote. And it just so happens that a lot of those same people stuffed the ballot boxes.
Some people, yep.
When Trump was, when it came out that Trump didn't actually win or attempted to falsify the records. And it's like, if you're really that worried about voter fraud, like, could you maybe just not say the quiet part out loud then? Because this was never about voter fraud. This was about you wanted the votes to go in your favor. That's all it was about. Mm-hmm. You want to keep the people that are poor that could really, really benefit from having somebody that cares about getting money back to the working class and getting them programs that are going to help them in a community set. And you want to take their right to have a say out of the picture.
Uh-huh.
Because you know that they're going to vote probably Democrat.
Right.
Not because it's better. Let's get that across. Democrat is not better.
No.
But because it's the lesser of the two evils and might actually give them some kind of a break here and there in their 3 jobs, trying to support their, handful of children. And I don't mean like 5 children. I mean like tend to have like one or two children in their crappy ass lives where they're just trying to make ends meet.
Mm-hmm. I would love a 3-party system where we had a true leftist party.
It was supposed to be. I don't know what happened.
We still might get there someday, but I just would like it to happen to a true leftist party, because the Democrats have been pretty centrist for a very long time.
Yeah.
And
they can't go any further because the Republicans...
That's a convenient lie that they tell themselves to make themselves feel better.
They can't, though. When Obama was president, he tried to put a lot of leftist things into... Because he was a leftist swinging president. His campaigns before that suggested he was more central than some of the other real, like, hardcore leftists. But he tried, and they shut down the government.
Yeah, I know.
You remember?
They do it every time.
It's... To my knowledge... Democrats have never shut down the government.
I don't know. I'd have to look into it a little bit more to remember. But the petty bickering and infighting in Washington D.C. has been there the whole time on both sides for a very long time.
That's true.
And they're still, in a lot of ways, defensively responding to emotional arguments, which is ridiculous because they are supposed to be there representing thousands, if not tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people.
Right.
Each. Every single one of them.
The more I work on myself and become more functional, the more I realize when I look around me that I live with a world full of children.
Yeah.
Claiming that they're adults now and know better.
Yep. When I see a first-ish world country like Israel doing capital punishment for revenge, I am appalled. Ridiculous.
Are you, though?
I'm depressed and disappointed.
Depressed and disappointed, sure. Appalled, I feel like that's a bit strong. Have you seen what's happened in our own country?
Yeah.
I had an argument this past weekend where it didn't seem to matter that children were literally dying at schools. This person did not want to give teachers a raise. It doesn't faze me anymore. Like, I'm not surprised because people are in the world, at large, most people are insecure. They don't feel secure in their lives, and so they're working from a more basic place where they're not able to put in the reason and the logic that maybe adults could in the past. I don't know. I don't know that they could in the past either. It just sounds like sometimes they could, and most of the time they couldn't.
I'm sorry, but like the major religions of our world and the major philosophies of our world, capitalism, Christianity, and I don't know as much about Islam, so I can't really speak about it too much, but a lot of them are set up in a way to make us feel persecuted and like shit. Christianity's whole fucking thing is sin. You are born a sinner. You are literally born a piece of shit, and there's not anything you can do about it. So we're not even set up right now to try to help everyone get to a more comfortable baseline to start moving upwards from. The people that are in power, whether they know it or not, are continually perpetuating, pushing everyone else down to keep themselves up.
Which isn't required, but
and
they think it
makes them hate themselves too. There aren't happy billionaires.
Assuming that those people aren't sociopaths.
Even the sociopaths aren't happy is my point.
Well, I don't think they're happy, but I don't think they're blaming themselves for it.
The point that I was trying to make, though, is that there aren't happy billionaires.
No, there's not. Billionaires, that's a sickness.
And there's no reason for us to have billionaires. I'm sorry.
No, there isn't.
I know that there's a bunch of people out there that have this dream of being wildly successful and wealthy and
but
getting
what are you gonna
more
do with
money
it? Why
than
would you
anybody
need
else.
it?
But like,
what do you need it for?
Right. Do you don't want to be Elon? He's not doing well.
He's not doing well. We can tell from Twitter.
X.
Yeah, it's Twitter.
I'm going to keep calling it what he decided to call it. because he changed the name of the most successful social media company on the internet. I think Twitter was the most. Twitter was being used for like marketing campaigns from the top companies in the world. There were fucking like country governments that were officially using Twitter to make announcements. Like Twitter was a big fucking deal, and he changed it to X.
Yeah, well, I don't believe in pandering to the mentally ill, so it's Twitter. And I don't believe that X, quote unquote, is going to be around much longer. I just don't.
But you think Twitter will?
No, well, Twitter's going to go down in history.
You don't think Twitter's going to come back?
No, I don't. He's going to run it into the ground, and it's just going to be something that we remember as a historical event.
Yeah, but you don't think... Because, like, Twitter's got shareholders, right? And probably a board of directors,
Sure, those
maybe?
same people are probably shareholders on another board.
No, but my point is that, like, eventually some of them are going to find a way to just push Elon out and put in somebody that is going to do what they're supposed to do, right?
You would think that, but didn't he spend money to not... Like, he's, like, the main shareholder, isn't he?
Yeah.
So I don't think that's going to happen. So he's going to run it into the ground, and all the shareholders that were on Twitter's board are, if they're not now and haven't already, they will very soon look for someplace else to put their money, and they're going to drive him out through business.
Maybe. We'll see.
The normal way.
We'll see. I feel like they'll just buy him out at a certain point, like, of his Twitter stock, because his Twitter stock isn't his net worth.
I don't think it's about the money for Elon anymore.
No, but that's what I mean.
I think
that he could be bought out pretty easily.
No, but that's my point, is I don't think he could be bought out for any amount of money, because I don't think that it has anything to do with making a profit anymore.
No.
I think this is now his soapbox.
He feels embarrassment. I know he feels embarrassment sometimes. At some point, he's gonna want to get out.
I think he's gonna turn this X endeavor into something that Twitter was never meant to be.
A right-wing mouthpiece?
Maybe, yeah. And even if he doesn't run it into the ground to the point where it doesn't exist anymore, whatever it ends up being will not be anything like what Twitter was, in a way that we will remember Twitter as something completely different.
Yeah, that's probably true. Hey kids, check out Substack. Anyway,
or Medium. I don't know which one's gonna, like, I think Substack's probably gonna be the winner of the day there.
Well, I mean, over the things that we're aware of, I think that Facebook, honestly, is going to just absorb a lot of Twitter.
Yeah, Facebook seems to still be thriving for the middle-class white American.
Old people, specifically, too. Like, people under the age
of... people our age and over.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's old people. We're on the internet now.
Yeah. We're old people.
We're definitely old people on the internet.
Yeah.
But, it's cool. It's whatever. I kind of distracted away from what you were talking about.
No, there was a lot. We kind of went a bunch of places, because I think we're trying to, like, circle the drain to try to figure out how to end the episode.
Yeah, because I'm definitely fading.
Yeah, I see that.
Mm-hmm. So, do you have anything?
No,
final thoughts?
Good. We're good on the episode.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for hanging out with us and listening to us talk and bitch about the reality of life at the moment. I'm surprised I didn't get into any of my Christian stuff, because, like, that's where I thought I was going to head, because there's similarities there between what I see from the Israel-Palestine
I'm sure it'll come up again.
Conflict. Because I got some interesting hardline ideas about that, but someday.
But we try to make these short, and this is long, so...
Well, yeah, but but anyway. Thank you very much. We appreciate your time and attention. I hope you find smiles this day.
And I'm the Accidental Monster. You were...
I'm Eternally Immortal.
I hope
you find smiles this day.
And you can find us both on Medium.com and maybe Substack. You can find me on Substack.
I'm not on Substack yet.
No, not yet. Okay, well...
I'm not putting shit on Substack yet. Except for comments.
So... remember to follow yourself always.
Bye-bye.